All right. Hello again to anyone who's listening. This is another installment of All Things Real Estate, where we discuss all kinds of real estate issues, especially considering the San Francisco Bay Area. Today, we're lucky enough to have Ron Ricard. Ron Ricard is the Vice President of IPX 1031, which is Investment Property Exchange Services. Thank you for being here today, Ron. Thank you for your time. He's going to tell us a little bit about how the 1031 exchange works exactly, the basic mechanics of it, and how homeowners, specifically investors, can use this in order to increase wealth. So again, thank you for being here, Ron, and maybe we could start by answering that first question. I know it's a deep topic. What is a 1031 exchange?
Well, first off, thank you for having me, Ken. Appreciate the opportunity. 1031 just refers to the section of the tax code that allows clients to sell investment real estate, buy replacement investment real estate, and in doing so, they get to defer paying taxes on the profit that they've made.
Oh, okay, good. And maybe you could explain the difference between, again, tax deferral and tax avoidance, because it's actually not a tax avoidance strategy, is it? What do we mean here by 1031? What do we mean by deferring exactly?
Right. I mean, the 1031 just defers the taxes. So let's say you buy a rental house you've had for the last 20 years, you want to sell that and buy a duplex. So the gain that you have in that house gets deferred into the duplex. Then you could do another exchange. You sell the duplex and buy a fourplex. Again, the gain that was deferred goes into the fourplex. Now, if you sell the fourplex, you're going to pay capital gain taxes from the house, the duplex, and the fourplex, as well as the depreciation recapture from the house, the duplex, and the fourplex. So you are just deferring the taxes, not eliminating the taxes.
Okay. Again, back to what is the 1031 exchange exactly? It is a real hot topic now, especially in the San Francisco Bay Area, because property values have increased so much over the last 10 years. This is something, there is also a lot of confusion about the idea of like property. That has changed, however, and this can only be done for investment property, right? Not just for the sale of a primary residence, right?
Right. I mean, one thing to remember is that 1031 exchanges themselves have been around for almost 100 years. Mm-hmm. And up until very recently, we used to do 1031 exchanges on things other than real estate, like airplanes and cars and farm equipment and stuff like that. And as of 2 years ago, we are now 1031 only qualifies for real estate, but it is investment real estate for investment real estate. It is not for your primary residence. It isn't for that second home that you have. It is not for flipping property. It is for selling investment real estate and buying investment real estate. So it can be any kind of investment real estate. So you can sell a rental house and buy a shopping center. You can sell a farm and buy a fourplex. You can sell bare land and buy a rental house. It can be any kind of investment real estate for any other kind, anywhere in the United States.
Okay. Well, why don't we think about a specific example? I mean, let's take an example of somebody who has bought investment real estate. Maybe they bought a condominium or townhouse. Maybe 10 years ago, they paid maybe $450,000. Now that property is appreciated up to $900,000. They decide to sell it. How can the 1031 benefit them exactly?
Well, using your numbers, they're going to have about $450,000 of capital gain on that property. Plus, on top of that, they've been depreciating it for 10 years as a rental. So they may be looking at a tax bill of on $600,000 or $700,000. So they may be looking at a couple $100,000 in taxes to pay. So if they just sell that property, regardless of how much debt's on the property, they may be writing a $200,000 check to the government. So the idea here is they sell that property, they take that $900,000 and reinvest it into another piece of investment real estate. So another rental condo, a house, a duplex, fourplex, shopping center. And so as long as they buy something equal or greater to that $900,000, they're not writing that $200,000 check to the government.
Okay. How can your company assist in this?
Whenever you do an exchange, the IRS requires the use of a neutral third party referred to as the intermediary, which is what we are. And we do two things. One is that we create the paper trail that tells the IRS that you followed the rules of the exchange. But more importantly is we hold the money. So when escrow closes, the funds have to go to this neutral third party, because if it goes to the client, they pay taxes. So our job is to effectively hold the money between the escrow for what they're selling and the escrow for what they're buying. I call us the escrow between the escrows.
Okay, good. And again, there are some time limits that are associated with it.
Yeah, far and away the most critical issue to remember when people are doing an exchange is those time limits. And there are two of them, but the only one is usually the issue. The main thing is that they have to know what they're going to buy within 45 days and close escrow within 180 days. Now, both of those clocks start at the close of escrow, but once escrow closes, you can identify a list of properties, but that list of properties has to include what you're actually going to purchase. So identify what you're going to buy within the first 45 days after escrow closes, though you have almost 6 months, 180 days to actually close the escrow.
Okay, good. And maybe one last question, Ron. When we think investment property, again, I gave the example of somebody who owns a primary house and primary residence and maybe owns another investment condominium. This can also apply to somebody who uses their own primary residence as a home office, for example. Could you explain that briefly?
Right. There are a couple things you could do here when it comes to your primary residences. Obviously, the primary residence in and of itself does not qualify for 1031 because it's not considered to be investment real estate. And that's under Section 121 of the tax code that allows you the $250,000 or $500,000 capital gains exemption. However, around the Bay Area, where so many people's gains in their houses are substantially more than that $250,000, $500,000, there is a way to combine 1031 with a primary residence. Maybe you have a home office, or maybe you have an ADU, or a portion of your property is rented out. Whatever percentage of the property that you are declaring to the IRS as being the portion of your property that's rented out or that's used as a home office, that percentage of the sales price you can do an exchange on. So it is, for a lot of people in the Bay Area, especially for people who are real estate professionals where they have that home office, it's not uncommon for them to be able to do an exchange on a portion of that property.
Okay, good. All right. Well, again, thanks for your time, Ron. I wanted to keep it brief. I know this is a very, very deep topic, but of course, for anybody who's interested, look in the post. You can reach out and contact either me, Ken Buchanan. I'm a realtor with Century 21. Reach out to Ron Ricard. Again, he's the vice president of IPX 1031 Exchange. His telephone number and email address are going to be in there. And hopefully in another class, we'll be able to have a little bit more information about other kinds of investment opportunities that can be used with the 1031 exchange. Thanks again, Ron.
Thank you again.